I'm Eleanor Holdridge, and I am the director of Into the Breeches. Into the Breeches is this incredible play in which a woman who shouldn't be directing becomes a director. And I think for all of us women directors out there, this is a story that isn't actually told. We don't actually think about the difficulties it is as a woman director. As a woman director, I have been often the first person of my gender to work at very big professional theaters across the country. And so this play, Into the Breeches, takes place in 1942. The World War II has just started and the theater has shut down. So when I think about this play and I think about shutting down theater, I think a lot about what we've been going through in COVID. Theaters have been shut down. We theater professionals have not been able to ply our craft. And I think a lot of us not being able to do so have become isolated, lonely. This is the thing that we do. This is the thing we love to do. And then to suddenly be bereft of that, I think is very difficult. And so this play, husbands have gone abroad to fight the Axis powers. They don't know if their husbands are going to die. They don't know if they're going to come home. They're trapped in their isolated little worlds. And then this character, Maggie, her husband was a director, decides to put on a play that her husband had decided to do. And suddenly she brings this disparate group of women together who start to form a bond and to start to forge a new kind of theater. They do all Shakespeare plays, hence the title Into the Breeches. The Shakespeare quote is, "Once more into the breach," which Henry V says right before going into battle. And so Into the Breeches is actually about that courageous moment where women dive into the battle, but also where they put on the breeches and play the man's parts. And so these women doing so suddenly become empowered. They have agency. They're battling their primary funder, Ellsworth Snow, but they forge a company and forge a play that becomes its own art form. And I think in doing so, they become a community. And I think that's the wonderful thing about theater is that we go all over the country, but we eventually form a community to put on this piece of art. It's always hard to direct a play that's about directing a play. You get really self-conscious when you're doing it, or I do anyway. And you're very aware of what the processes are. And so are the actors. So for instance, one of the things that I realized quite recently, we're just about to open as I'm talking, that the women in the play, the actors in the play, forget what they don't know. So for instance, in theater, a stage manager says, "Places, please," and everyone says, "Places." So everyone knows about it and the stage manager knows they've understood what happened. But what I realized is that these group of women, some of them absolute neophytes, don't actually know the theatrical world. So actually taking apart what we know and don't know has become a really fun challenge to do. So this is a play that is both a comedy and a piece of realism, but it also has Shakespeare in it. And they're very different techniques to act in a realistic play, even a realistic play in which you want to land a joke and also have us feel for the strength and the depth of the characters, and then to play a Shakespeare role. To say the words of Shakespeare is to understand the text, understand the meter, to be on your voice, in an image, and using the text to get what you want. In a realistic acting arena, we work with subtext, with action and objective, and these two things can unite, but they're very different. So it's an interesting challenge to look at how we balance Shakespeare acting and non-Shakespeare acting to create a seamless production. The other thing is, these women who are doing this play, they don't know how to do Shakespeare. So the other thing to do, it's been really fun to do, is to look at how they grow in terms of the strength of their acting from the beginning to the end. So some of these actors are absolutely terrible to start. And the play shows how this intrepid woman director helps the actors find their way into being good actors. And of course, as an educator myself and as a director, that is what I do all the time, or I attempt to do, is try and help actors become better and to find the truth in their acting. Into the Breeches, I think, is absolutely funny and absolutely moving all at the same time. There are many, many jokes. The situations are funny, and yet at the heart of it are women trying to find connection and trying to find hope in the midst of a really terrible situation, World War II. And so I think the mix of that, the hopeful message, the idea that anyone can form a community and look to each other for solace, I think is a wonderful thing for these times. And at the same time, it's not telling us what we're feeling. It's filled with absolutely wonderful humor, idiosyncrasy, and really wonderful characters. I think the wonderful thing about working at Florida Rep is that many of the actors come back, and I feel like we create a sense of family here. And even in these horrible times, well, they're not horrible, but the sense of family that Florida Rep creates makes it possible to do theater. So when we come from all the different places we're coming from, New York, DC, North Carolina, Florida, we come to a place that really supports us, I think, as artists, and we can try and do the best jobs we can. We can make mistakes along the way and hopefully create a wonderful piece of work for y'all to see.